Stuart, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you have any tips or antidotes to confusion or trying to seek answers and understand and compartmentalize in my mind?
Yeah, I have a very good tip. Stop trying to do it, because it's never going to work. I mean, you're trying to draw into your understanding what is infinite energy in the universe. And the human mind can never grasp it or understand it or catalog it or put it in a cubicle. Can't do it. It's too big. It's like, you can only fit so much water in a glass, when it starts overflowing. So, I mean, look, the mind has a very real purpose. And I repeat this over and over again. The mind has to receive knowledge, not knowledge in terms of our intellectual thinking, in terms of our rational approach to the world, but knowledge that will enter us from infinite energy in the universe that comes directly from the source of all knowledge. And if we think about this and try to encapsulate it and to put it into a rational way that we think, it just will drive us crazy, because the kind of energy we are trying to absorb inside us, real knowledge stems from infinite energy in the universe. And real knowledge, it expands, first of all, the third eye, the chakra in the forehead. And it enables us to begin to comprehend, not to really begin to comprehend that it's impossible to fit the knowledge of the universe into our heads. We have to surrender, we have to go deeper, we have to recognize that it is just simply an opportunity for us to grow, for the rest of our lives. And I think this is an essential element to what I teach and to what basically anyone is taught from the beginning of time, really. That, we are incapable of comprehending God. It's beyond all human understanding. But we are capable of becoming a living example of that energy moving through us, guiding our life, teaching us how to choose and how to live, and we can only do that through the deepest levels of inner surrender, letting go with having to understand what this world is about, because you're never going to figure it out anyway, and save yourself a lot of aggravation. But just opening and allowing that energy to flow through you and allowing that creative energy to guide your life, it becomes living experience instead of trying to understand what's completely impossible to understand. And I think that this is the key to the development of an inner life. It certainly frees us of a very heavy burden, which almost everybody carries around, wanting to make sense of what will never make sense, wanting to make sense of life, whereas nobody in the history of the world has ever made sense of life. Even the greatest philosophers eventually just shrugged their shoulders, said it's all about being happy. I mean, Aristotle, Plato, Spinoza, all these, A-list philosophers, they eventually just shrugged their shoulders. It's all about being happy. Einstein, it must be God. I can't understand all of this. It's beyond my, one of the greatest minds of the 20th century. It was beyond his comprehension. So what I'm saying is our work is about building an inner life that allows the energy of spirit, the energy of God, whatever you want to call it, higher creative energy, to flow through us and to allow us to become a vehicle through which that energy enters the world. And what we gain by doing this is living experience, how to live consciously in the world, how to open to a force of energy that we'll never understand, but will always be there to guide us, in what we have to do with our lives. To me, that's the greatest knowledge of all. And it brings with it levels of comprehension that are totally beyond me. The kinds of intuition, the kinds of inner understanding about the nature of life. I never, ever could grasp those things when I was younger. And now I don't grasp them, they just come. They just become part of my life. I mean, I don't know how better to explain that, but I think it's a very important thing for people to grasp, to comprehend. I mean, you can only, as I said, you can only fit so much water. It's like trying to fit the Atlantic Ocean in a teacup. It doesn't fit, it's beyond. So we have to get bigger and allow that energy of God, Spirit, higher, to become that which guides us, which teaches us, which we can never encapsulate, but will always, enable us to live in the world in a conscious way. It's where music comes from. I always say this, it's where all of art comes from. It's where from all the greatest things that have ever been architecture that have ever been created in the history of the world come from. And it's there to guide each and every one of us because the ultimate creation is one's life. And most people try to create their life by going into their heads and figuring it out. And you have a very crazy world because nobody's going to figure it out. And everybody has a different sense of reality. And everybody's trying to fit everybody else into their reality. And you have all of this madness that goes on in the world. All this conflict and anger and fighting and wars and, And to be honest, I don't think about these things. I really don't. I don't, they just come. They come because, I work deep enough in myself to be a vehicle through which this kind of teaching comes into the world. But I don't sit around and try to figure this out between classes. I really would make myself crazy doing that. I mean, I remember my teacher, Rudy, he said to me, I'm sitting there with him and there's this Shakti that could blow a hole, in the universe coming through him. And I'm like sitting there almost in a stupor, and he says to me one day, he said, how am I different than anyone else? So I said, Rudy, what? And he said, Stuart, I like to go to the movies. I like dinner. I work. I have a business to run. I mean, I'm not different than anyone. And I said, okay, if you really believe that, I'll leave you alone. But I look at myself the same way. What do? I have dinner, I eat, I watch movies, it's no different. The only difference maybe is working deep enough inside so that this energy can flow through and guide my life and nurture people that come and then want that kind of depth of nurturing in themselves. And Rudy was right. I mean, he ate in almost every Chinese restaurant in Chinatown in New York, I mean, it was a riot to be around him. Movies all the time, this and that, and he ran his business. And meanwhile, you would sit and work with him and the energy And the Shakti was so powerful that all you could see were light and colors and auras, and and you felt it going right through you and building your system and so on. And that's what these classes are about, And all the rest of it is okay. You got to fill in time, I mean it. Does anyone else have a question I would like to ask?
Yeah, Stuart, in that same vein, I always think of being immersed or raised in a world of popular culture and finding that balance, where watching the world be more engaged, young people more connected to devices and social media. And I always think in terms of, what is the right balance? Because it's so easy.
You're learning you want to immerse yourself in all that
no
stuff, then don't build a system and you'll trust me, you'll immerse yourself in things of so much higher nature than all these people on social media, whatever they do, I sometimes read about it and it's shocking, the superficiality of life today and how people live. And do I want to be involved in that? I got off Facebook. I said, this is ridiculous. I got off Instagram. This is ridiculous. What do I need to turn on these things and listen? I'm sitting in some restaurant and, who cares? Who really cares, I used to see this stuff. I go, what? And then I would sit down, honestly, I would sit down and write the most extraordinary things to put on Facebook. And I would post these things and I would get 20 people that would say I like. And I finally said, Stuart, this is absurd. Do I want to invest my energy in this kind of absurdity? No. And then you discover that Facebook is this kind of fascist organization doing all kinds of insanity in the world. And you say, do I want to invest my time and energy and stuff? I don't. Other people do, and I respect that, and I'm not going to judge them. But I had to make decisions for myself. I'd much rather, I'm telling you, I must teach 15 meditation classes a week. I mean it, between the classes online and the classes that I do in my apartment now. It's unbelievable. But I see people growing and I see people expanding in themselves. And I see that I'm transmitting such a profound and deep energy that I'd much rather spend my time doing that than waving to people from restaurants on Instagram. Last night, one of my students is studying contemporary art, and she's talking about the art of Jeff Koons, And that to me has always been a riot. This guy does these bubbles and animals and they sell for $85 million. It's like, what the hell is Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel worth? If that's worth 85, you couldn't buy it, So it's like, do I want to be involved in modern culture? Do I want to be involved in all that stuff? No, But I did learn a lesson years ago, and I really mean this. It was a great lesson. Years ago, people used to tell me all about Andy Warhol's, silk screens and this and that. And I was, it's not for me. And I think he's not a great artist and it's just graphics and blah, blah, blah. And I would always say that. And one day I had this wonderful sculpture. This is a true story. I had this really wonderful sculpture from Goa of a Christ, ivory Christ. It must have been this big. And the quality was extraordinary. So a friend of mine comes in the gallery and he says to me, I can sell it, I had the thing for a week. I said, all right, go take it and sell it. We can make some money. So he takes it and a month goes by, 2 months go by, 3 months go by. I say, what, so I go up to his gallery on Madison Avenue. And I said to him, what happened to that Cohen crucifix I gave you like 1 million years ago? Oh my God. So he gets on the phone, he makes a phone call and he calls somebody and the guy tells him it's sold. You know, it's sold and we'll get paid next week. So I said, great. I said, it's sold, it was a bunch of money and I hated it. Anyway, next week comes by, I call him up. I said, well, he said, well, Stuart, it was sold to Andy Warhol. And Andy Warhol told the guy who sold it to him that he will pay him when he gets out of the hospital. And Andy Warhol never got out of the hospital. He died that weekend. And I said, Stuart, you'll never badmouth anybody again, ever. It will come back to you. It'll come back. He died owing me $12,000, okay? Andy Warhol. I mean, this is a true story. And I learned my lesson. I said, don't badmouth anybody. It's not worth it. It'll always come back to you. I mean, thank God I got the sculpture back and I wound up, selling it to somebody about a week later. But that doesn't matter. What I'm saying is things always come back. Even the superficiality of social media, it's what people do. And I have to say, okay, if that's my daughter does it, what am I going to do? Yell at her for doing that? Say, great, what are you learning? I hope, oh, it's just fun, Daddy, it's fun. It's okay, enjoy yourself. So, I mean, it's all part of creation and there's something to learn from all of that. And then there's something to choose about how you want to live your life. I mean, this thing that happened a few days ago here in the United States with that rap concert where 8 people were killed. I mean, it was unbelievable going to one of those concerts. It's nothing I would ever think of doing. And all these young people went there and they were crushed to death at this concert. I mean, unbelievable. But people never learn. Understand? They don't learn. I mean, they're attracted to what's promoted, on all these different social media programs. So anyway, I wouldn't worry about it, Larry. Just keep doing your inner work and you're not going to have, there's not going to be a problem in your life. I mean,
it's 2:00.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question? They would like to ask.
I have another question, Stuart.
Yes.
I've been noticing images or like sensations, images pop up in my mind when I'm meditating and when I feel energy coming down my head. And I'm like, just imaginations and images, but I don't know. Should I like lean into that or it's like popping up? I'm not making it. Like vision.
Skender, do me a big favor. Stop leaving yourself alone a little bit. Those images come up, just let go of them. What are you going to hold on to? It could be imagination. It could be visions you're having inside yourself. Just let go of it and continue to work in depth inside yourself without having to grab onto these things and what are they? And, too much to grab onto in the world. You got to begin to start letting go of things and just let yourself alone, You'll do yourself a very big favor by just letting yourself alone. Let it be. Let the images be. Let everything in the world be, and just do your inner work. Open, surrender, and allow yourself to connect with the higher force. And that is really the profound teacher. Because that'll enable you then to embrace life and allow life to be the teacher too.
Okay.
Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, if there are no more questions, there'll be a class today, Tuesday, on Thursday. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. And God bless you all. Your questions are wonderful. They bring out of me things I never even think about. And I'm here learning also. So God bless you all and thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone on. And if you know people that want to come, you know, they're welcome. This is not a closed society here. And if you know people that are interested in learning how to have a spiritual life, they're more than welcome to attend these classes. So thank you and bless you. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bless you too. Thank you.